Gawas itong bitin.
Ipadakop nila ni Kwan?
Awa na, manok. Murot na manok ron. Ano?
Adita siya mukawin.
On November 3, 2025, the Philippines was struck by Typhoon Kalmaegi, known locally as Tino. The powerful storm made landfall in the province of Southern Leyte, unleashing sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching 185. As it moved westward across the Visayas, Kalmaegi brought torrential rainfall, violent gusts, and massive coastal flooding that left entire towns cut off from the rest of the country. Hours before landfall, skies darkened across the eastern seaboard. Meteorologists had warned of an approaching system with explosive growth, but few expected its speed and intensity. Within minutes of its arrival, roofs were ripped away, power lines snapped, and waves as high as 3 meters pounded the shorelines. Thousands of families fled to evacuation centers as rivers overflowed and the sound of the wind drowned out everything else. Across the central Philippines, the devastation was immediate. In Cebu, Negros Occidental, and Eastern Samar, floodwaters submerged entire villages. Bridges collapsed, roads were buried by landslides, and communication networks went silent. In many areas, rescuers could not reach stranded residents until the next day. By then, homes had been washed away, and families clung to rooftops waiting for help. More than 150,000 people were forced to evacuate from their homes, seeking refuge in crowded shelters. At least one fatality was confirmed in Southern Leyte, with many others injured by falling debris and flash floods. In some coastal communities, storm surges swallowed entire neighborhoods, leaving behind nothing but debris and silence. "It was like nothing I have ever seen," said a resident of Mandaue City in Cebu. "The wind tore through our house in seconds. We barely escaped." Another survivor described watching cars swept down the street like toys. "We couldn't see anything but white water and flying metal," she said. The national government responded quickly. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared a state of emergency and ordered a full-scale rescue and relief operation. The armed forces of the Philippines deployed aircraft and naval units to reach isolated islands. The Philippine Red Cross set up emergency shelters, distributing food, clean water, and blankets. Local officials converted schools and churches into temporary evacuation centers as thousands of people lined up for aid. International agencies, including the United Nations, UNICEF, and Médecins Sans Frontières, joined in, sending medical teams and logistics support. Volunteers from nearby provinces delivered water, rice, and fuel, while social media campaigns under the hashtag Bangon Kalmaegi, meaning Rise Again, mobilized donations across the country. Meteorologists explained that Typhoon Kalmaegi had formed over unusually warm waters in the Western Pacific. As it entered the Philippine area of responsibility, it intensified rapidly, a sign of the changing climate conditions now fueling stronger storms. Experts said the ocean's surface temperature was nearly 2 degrees above average, providing extra energy for rapid intensification. Climate researchers have warned that these conditions are becoming the new normal, with the Philippines among the countries most exposed to extreme tropical cyclones. After Kalmaegi passed, the destruction it left behind was staggering. In Southern Leyte and Samar, whole communities were buried in mud and debris. Thousands of homes were destroyed, power lines toppled, and crops flattened. Electricity remained out in several provinces for days. Hospitals operated on generators as doctors treated hundreds of storm-related injuries. Water systems were contaminated, forcing health officials to warn about outbreaks of cholera and leptospirosis. The Department of Agriculture estimated that millions of pesos worth of rice and sugarcane were lost to flooding. For farmers, the storm struck just weeks before harvest season, leaving many with nothing. The cleanup was slow and painful. Bulldozers cleared roads blocked by fallen trees and landslides. Rescue teams searched through the ruins for missing residents. Families returned to their villages only to find nothing left standing. One mother from Baybay City described her return home. Everything was gone. Only the church was still there. But we're alive, and that's what matters. In Cebu, residents worked together to rebuild homes and share what little food they had left. For many, the storm revived memories of Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, which claimed thousands of lives. Once again, resilience became the country's greatest weapon. Even as the country struggled to recover, meteorologists issued new warnings. Another typhoon, Fung Wang, was moving toward the Philippines following a similar path. Authorities urged residents to remain alert and keep evacuation centers open, fearing that recovery from Kalmaegi might be short-lived if another storm struck. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council remained on red alert, coordinating with local governments to monitor potential flash floods and landslides. Days later, as floodwaters began to recede, the full scale of the disaster came into focus. In the Visayas region, power restoration teams worked around the clock. Engineers assessed bridges and roads for damage. Humanitarian groups distributed food packs, hygiene kits, and tarpaulins to displaced families. In many towns, electricity slowly returned, a symbol of hope amid the devastation. Communities gathered in churches to pray, to grieve, and to plan how to rebuild once again. Typhoon Kalmaegi has become a grim reminder of how vulnerable the Philippines remains to the growing intensity of tropical storms. Rising sea temperatures, deforestation, and unplanned coastal development have made each typhoon more destructive than the last. Scientists warn that unless global emissions are reduced and resilience measures improved, storms like Kalmaegi will continue to grow stronger. Yet even in the face of relentless disasters, the spirit of the Filipino people endures. In every province, stories of courage emerge. Teachers sheltered their students through the night as roofs collapsed above them. Fishermen used their boats to rescue neighbors trapped by rising tides. Volunteers risked their own safety to deliver food and medicine to the most remote areas. Their courage stands as proof that even in the darkest storms, humanity shines brightest. From the ruins of Kalmaegi's destruction, hope is rising once again. Communities are rebuilding, families are returning home, and life is beginning to move forward. As the nation cleans up and prepares for the next storm, one truth remains: no typhoon, no matter how strong, can break the resilience of the Filipino people. Through loss and hardship, they stand together, rebuilding, enduring, and proving that even in disaster, the spirit of hope never fades.